Welcome everybody to our monthly VBOT marketing meetup. If you are attending for the first time, welcome. If you have attended any of those events previously, and I see many of you who always attend, thank you. We appreciate your attendance. It means a lot. It's a proof that the content we're putting together is actually transcending knowledge. I want to welcome everybody who joined us right now. I have 25 of you. I have B. Cannon, Blaine, Corbin, Chaplin, Alyssa, welcome, Dave, Emily, Fiona, few Fireflies note takers, Gary Paulson, Deirdre, Hala, Jim, John, Drinkwater, Joseph Yanni, Kenneth, Letitia, a couple of you, Letitia, maybe the other team members. I have Mike Moran and Mike Reamer. I have Molly Umaru, who joined very early. Thank you so much, Umaru, for always being before the event, attending. Randy and Ricardo. We also have Richard, Beanie, Scott, and Tracy. So welcome, everybody. This event is being broadcasted on Facebook. I will record the whole thing, and we will also email you the presentations, the video, and some bullet points of what we covered. I want to just tell you what we're about to cover today before I dive into the general introductions. I'm going to be talking about everything you need to know when it comes to sunset policy and how it could potentially lead to optimizing your email deliverability. That means open rates, engagements, and such. Okay, so I'll dive deep into the topic. And it's pretty much one of those topics that our companies do not want to put out, because sunset policy, meaning retiring some of your contacts and not emailing them anymore. Very tough conversation, but it must be had, whether it is with your own organization or if you're an agency with your end customer. So this topic, although it is not the best topic to talk about internally for marketing ops, it is something that you need to have in 2023 and onwards. So I'll share with you everything you need to know, some examples, and towards the end, I'll open the floor for additional questions. As you guys know, I like to keep this as a roundtable. So as I'm presenting the content that we'll put together, and thank you, George, for getting all the content in place. It takes a lot of work.
You're welcome.
Feel free to drop in your questions in the chat. We'll do our best to answer every single one of them. And also on Facebook, if you joined us live on Facebook, please drop in your questions there. We can keep it interactive. I really want to hear your thoughts, your questions, your concerns. And this is what these events are about, is to just bring you from knowing a little bit about a topic to knowing as much as possible about the topic, and hopefully you can pass on what we've shared to your customers, team members, and so on. All right, more people came in. I might be, there's no order. I think you Wangxi, welcome. Tracy, Scott, and I don't know if I have Peter, Randy, Neil as well. So welcome, guys, for joining us. All right, quick introduction of our community. We are 20,000 members strong, growing. We've been building the community for 8 years now, which is pretty much in parallel for the life of VBOT. VBOT started about 8 years ago. And we've been doing this on a monthly basis. Every single month we meet, we bring forth a marketing topic. We discuss it, we dissect it, and we, hopefully most of the time in VBOT, we take these and we implement things on top of them, be it in the product or be it in our own strategy. So whatever we're learning is literally what we synthesize in this content. We really hope you can join us on Facebook. We've been really focusing on bringing the Meetup community to Facebook from meetup.com, which used to be an amazing platform. We are focusing on our Facebook group, which gives us a little more flexibility with the tools, notifications, and the way that it's excelling. George will be dropping in the link in the chat, so you can join us if you haven't so already. I promise you, everything we share on this group is all about amazing events, product releases, very good solid content written by the team or our guest bloggers, video tutorials and stuff like this. This is not for selling. This is not for just high pressure, bye. This is not what we do. It's mainly education. Also, if you haven't joined us on TikTok, we're trying to build a community for this year. I would love to get your support. If you have a TikTok account and you're following some companies, I would love to get your follow and your support. I'll drop in the link as well for you here. And we'll reciprocate the follow in a few days. This is the outline for what we're going to cover today. So expect this is going to go until 6:10. So that means about an hour of your time, maybe less, depending. And we'll open up the floor at the end for any questions, be it on this particular topic or some general other questions that do not require 20 minutes of explaining and support, of course. Okay. To take a quick step back here, guys, this event is sponsored by Vbout. Vbout is a marketing automation stack. We are focused on AI, especially since last year. So we are integrating in every single feature in Vbout an AI capability. We started with very simple features on subject line analyzer, predictive sending. We have sentiment analysis being released soon, and also very excited about our intent detection. So when people email you or reply, we can detect intent, and we're going to allow you to transfer that intent into follow-on action. That's going to be an automation-based AI feature to be released soon. We also have AI content generation for email, and that's going to trigger to SMS content generation by an AI assistant and landing page content generation by an AI assistant. So as you can see, we're really focused on bringing AI features, predictive modeling into the system, considering we track so much and you can do so much through Vbout. On top of that, Vbout is really priced well. We are not the cheapest on the market, definitely not the most expensive. And this turbulent kind of economy, we are priced just right. You don't have to pay a mortgage and a car payment on the product. And the depth of the features that you get is really powerful. All of this is backed by a premium support, which my team is really proud of. We have a very robust layer for support, training, assisting, escalation. Many of you have tried our support, and I think most of you are happy with it. In general, I won't dive into the product in depth. Again, this topic is all about learning sunset policy for optimizing your email deliverability. But in a nutshell, and I have to do this because Vbout sponsors these events, under the umbrella of the stack, we call it a stack because it's just not one tool, it's multiple tools working together to execute lead generation from the top of the funnel. So you have forms, landing pages, pop-ups, and site messages. You get the leads into the system from there. You can build these on Vbout. Once they get inside the platform, you can then create automation sequences, follow-up emails, robust email campaigns to nurture them. This way they can learn more about you. And from a retention side of things, we have a suite of tools to allow you to enhance your branding, customer retention, lifetime, kind of VIP sort of email campaigns for loyal customers. So all these tool sets are at your fingertip as an agency or a client, and they're all working together in the Vbout stack. We integrate very well. Our integration library is quite robust. Beside our API, which is native, you also have middleware integrations and some native integrations we built at Vbout. At the end of the day, our manifesto is to allow you to own your first-party cookie data without being at the mercy of Google or Facebook, charging you an arm and a leg to build your own audience. You can build a very solid audience from your own initiatives. And Vbout tracks a lot of things from email to SMS engagement to web engagement, e-commerce activity, lead sources, time spent on engagement. So a lot of things we track can be translated into powerful marketing data, and you own your marketing first-party cookie. So that's what Vbout is at the end of the day. All the tools that I mentioned leads to this. And from the general sort of landscape, we are right in the middle between, the very good, simple starter products that are branded as a full stack and priced low. And overkills like HubSpot, Marketo, these are amazing tools, but they come with a price tag, and most of the time they're overkills. And on top of it, we're layering our AI capabilities to help you become better marketer. So this is in a nutshell what VBOT does and what we do. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I'll include a link to our demo if you need a product and you need to explore with our success team if this is the right product for you. George will drop in a link in the chat. Just mention that you came to this event so they understand the initiatives is working or not. Awesome. Many more have joined. We have 54 people in total beside our Facebook. And thank you everybody who are supporting and are already starting with the questions. Thank you, John, Blaine, Twana. We also have Savannah. Exactly. So yes, Savannah, this is about sunset policy. I was just doing general intros. Cool. George, quick mic check here. Do you hear me clear?
Yes, all clear, Richard.
All right. Quick question for everybody. How many of you do not know what a sunset policy is? And you can just drop in quickly in the chat, say thumbs up, thumbs down, yes, no. Okay. Cool. Many of you guys seems to not know what a sunset policy is, which is great. Ricardo knows. Thank you, Ricardo. So many of you came here to learn what it is and how you can implement it to optimize the deliverability. And those who do know, perhaps how to put it best to work. Thank you guys for answering, by the way. There's an insurance sunset policy too. We're not talking about about that, John. That's probably a different topic and different company. We're just focusing on email contact sunset policy. So let's take a step back here to discuss a little bit a general the process, what it is. Sunset policy is literally a strategy whereas you identify your contacts that are engaging with you versus those who are not engaging with you. And I'm going to break that down and putting them in different campaigns. Okay. When I say engaging in this particular context, I'm referring to email engagements. And there are plenty of other engagements, which I'll dive into in a minute. But opening an email, clicking on a link inside an email. So the process of the sunset policy is a simple segmentation process that gets those who are engaged, your contacts to be specific, and your contacts can be an umbrella of your existing clients, an umbrella of your leads, top of the funnel, kind of opt-ins for your blogs. All of these, you can put them together if you wish. So this is the unengaged or engaged in two different buckets, okay? That's a very simple concept. Now, why do we do this? Those that are engaged are probably helping your reputation over time. And those who are not engaged, they are bringing down your reputation, email reputation to be specific. And referring to the ESPs of the world, the email service providers, ESPs. These are the companies that, Gmail, Hotmail, Yahoo, and all these guys, they want to see email engagement. So those you are sending email to, they're not engaging, they're actually negatively impacting your reputation. So the idea here is to identify them and to do things to that bucket, to segment them all together, and we'll find out a little bit what we can do there. Obviously, those who never respond, they never click, they never open, we can suppress them. We can also create a sending program for them for reactivation and a whole lot more. So that's the general high-level concept of the sunset policy, identifying engaged contacts from non-engaged contacts and creating a plan for what we need to do with both, okay? Awesome. John said this is the same approach as dating, sort of, John, yes, I guess, the if you're talking to somebody and they're not engaging well in conversations, maybe it's time to retire them from a date to a friend. Yes. Cool. So why implement sunset policy? Again, I come back to this concept of building your reputation. And it's really important to understand what is a sender reputation. And this is where it comes to a sophisticated marketer from a beginner marketer. Every single time you engage and you launch an email program, you are building a reputation with your ESPs, again, the email service providers. If you're sending for the first time, email service providers have their own built-in machine learning tools, not to mention the online filters that are available out there, the spam filtering of the world or the blacklist of the world. They look at your sending patterns, and based on the sending pattern over time and the results of your email campaigns, you can have a good reputation or a bad reputation. Okay, so a good reputation is technically somebody who's sending to a lot of contacts that are engaging, people who opted into their emails, people who open the emails a few times, they forward, they reply. This is a solid reputation for a sender. A bad sender reputation is somebody sending for a long time, okay? And when I say a long time, let's just identify dozens of campaigns. They have very low open rates, a lot of bounces, a lot of typos in their emails. A lot of people are complaining, content is not relevant. This is a bad sender reputation that gets built, detected over time by the ASPs of the world. And trust me, they know when you're doing that. And companies who do not engage in good practices, hence the sunset policy is one important one, they could eventually lead to very low open rates and almost no engagement. And that's not what we want with our email campaigns. That will be just a waste of our time and ultimately our money, okay? So usually there's a reputation involved every time you start sending out emails to the world, and that reputation gets built and you have to prove it. So when you're speaking to your team, if you're a marketing unit, or if you're speaking to your clients as a digital agency, you have to set their expectations right in terms of the more we send, the cleaner the list, the better we engage in quality versus quantity, the better results we will see at the end of the funnel, of the tunnel. And this is why we at Vbout have decided not to price you on the number of contact when it comes to our pricing model, but on the volume of emails that you send. So you can have 1 million contacts in the database, but your highly engaged, most effective bucket could be just 10% or 20% of that. And this is where your volume of sending should revolve around, okay? So with sunset policy, proper sunset policy setting, you can enhance and optimize your inbox placement. So moving you from the spam box and also in some cases promotions tab into the inbox of your contacts, which is what everybody wants. And not to mention, the average of the send to click-through rates will be much higher, and that yields to better analytics, better optimization, more accurate data. If I'm sending 100 emails and I'm getting 80 people clicking through and 50 people converting, I mean, that's a lot better than sending 1 million emails and getting the same exact number. It's just the percentages overall is going to be diluted the higher you send, and the smaller the results. All right. If this is getting confusing from a math perspective, don't worry. I think by the end of this presentation, it will land itself well. Any questions so far?
Yes, Richard, we have a question from John.
Sure.
John was asking about the redouble opt-in.
Okay.
And he said it's a pain to users, but does it improve deliverability? And could you also think it's better to get a double opt-in email in spam, which is then dealt with, rather than when the email is more important?
So double opt-in, when people, in the contacts, if somebody fills out a form, they get a link, and the link should be clicked on in order for them to be active on your email list. Double opt-in is actually being brought back by many companies. It is not something new. It started with the beginning of the email world. And then about 8 years ago or 7 years ago, MailChimp and friends decided to just kill that feature. And now it's being brought back after GDPR compliance and others because they want people to actually physically click on the link that you send them, which is a great signal, as you will see in this slide. So double opt-in could be a pain for the user, yes, but it could be also effective and accompanied with a value. For example, I say take the option or take the opportunity to send a downloadable, send an offer, or some sort of an email value within the confirmation email, because you can customize it on Vbout. You can say, thank you so much for opting in. Here's a link to sign up. And by the way, I also wanted to share this kind of piece of content if it's relevant to you. You can use that technique a little bit in order for you to make it more exciting for users, so it's not pain. It does yield to better quality lists, which means better opens, okay, because people have open and engaged with you before. And the last part of the question is, could you also think it's better to get a double opt-in email in spam, which is then dealt with, rather than the email, rather than when the email is more important? I'm not sure I followed the last question, but ultimately, if you have an effective double opt-in strategy, I've seen better results and less spam placement. And most of the time, in my experience working with clients direct, those emails are going to inbox, double verification emails, because they're more one-to-one. They don't have a lot of designs involved around them. And also they're part of their entire general practices, which are good. So they have a good reputation. Okay.
Yeah. And I think rarely do I see double opt-in email in spam. Mainly, I see them delivered to my inbox.
Like one-to-one conversations land better than mass in general. All right. Thank you, John, for the questions. Now, elements that affect the center reputation score. I touched on this a little bit. But the moment you send out an email, a lot of things happen. I'm talking about to, let's say, 100,000 people, okay? You're going to get hard bounces, okay? Hard bounces meaning the recipient does not exist. Could be a dead inbox. Maybe the server or the domain does not exist. I've seen a lot of companies buy a domain without setting up an inbox and just use a fictitious alias to sign up to things. That's a bad email. So when you send an email, hard bounces can come back to you and say, oh, I can't find this person. That's a hard bounce. Also, people can trigger spam complaints. They could click on, this is a spam. You've done this maybe before, and that sends a bad signal. That's actually one of the worst signals. There are also spam traps. Now, before you get delivered or you reach the inbox of, let's say, Facebook, Outlook or Gmail or any ASP, you go through some sort of filter that scans your email copy, your sender, your domain, your IP, and a whole bunch of variables. And according to these results, if it's good or bad or not, it could yield to a deliverability on the ASPs like Gmail, or it could trigger a bounce back saying that the person you're trying to send the email to configured a policy that says your IP is blacklisted. They don't want to receive emails from those who have blacklisted IPs. This is just a silly way of putting it. So spam traps are really involved in every single email that gets sent. That's why there are hundreds of them. And that's why if you land yourself in a bad spam trap, that means one of the websites that are used the most, it could be a pain in the neck to actually get delisted, and that could impact your email game. In some cases, we've seen it get impacted for weeks if you cannot get delisted properly, okay? Now, other engagements, besides the return when an email is delivered, bounces or not. Obviously, there's an open rate because Gmail can tell who opened the email. Gmail can tell who clicked on the email, who replied to you, okay, which is probably the best form of engagement is if I reply back to you and I write you a message. Now that immediately kind of puts you on a whitelist, or if I forward the email to others. So these are a few variables that are enhancing your reputation. And I've really worked with companies that they invested heavily their content around driving that sort of engagement. Whether it is they have a summary of the content and they're enticing people to click to view the rest. Offers, you can only see the offer after you click. Downloadables, after you fill out the form, instead of sending them directly to the PDF, let's say, you actually tell them I emailed you the PDF, making them go, click, and engage, right? So you can focus your content and your strategy in email to drive that sort of touch, reply, forward, etc. Okay. So these are some things that I mentioned: bounces, unsubscribes as well. Although unsubscribes, in my opinion, is somebody just explicitly requests to be removed, which is not a bad thing. If you're having people click on subscribe, that does not make you a bad sender. It just means that they're not interested. No hard feeling. Okay. And it's better for them to have an option to unsubscribe than not finding it at all and just saying, telling Google this is a spam email. You really don't want that action to be sent to spam. The organization inclusion on different blacklists, and I did actually a very short 1-minute TikTok video talking about what impacts your reputation. And one of the things is your sender IP. In this case, it's Vbout. We handle our IPs really well. We have over 50 IPs. We rotate them every day. In case one IP gets hit, we immediately take it out of the pool. We put a clean one, and we apply for delisting. So this is an ongoing kind of live ecosystem that we have for our email send, which is why you have to know what email sender you pick, right? But also there's a domain reputation, your own domain. That's something Vbout cannot control. You have to be on top of. It could be that you have a backlist, a backdoor in your WordPress website because you used the null version of Elementor back in the days, or your developer did. Somebody hacked your website, uploaded a whole bunch of scripts, and now you're sending out fake emails from your website. Now you get blacklisted because of that. Or it could be that you are hosted on a shared environment. Some Joe Schmo on the other side on the same server is sending out spam. The entire hosting server is blacklisted. You're gonna take a hit. So I highly encourage you actually check Blacklist Monitor for your domain to stay on top of that. So these are some elements that impact your reputation score, which are relevant to our discussion today for your sunset policy. Any questions?
We have a question, Richard, but it's more related to Chat GPT, not sunset policy.
Let's leave that to the end. I would love to take that, but I want to stay within the context a little bit. I know some people might be joining now as well. They'll take this GPT conversation. So we have 57 people with us. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. Whether you are local, Eastern time here in the United States, or if you're joining from overseas, many of you are probably joining way too late. So thank you so much for taking the time to do that. Not easy. That means you're committed. That means you are sharpening your axe, which is great. All right, so I got a question here before I move on to the next section. Does email sent from your subdomain count as mail from the master domain? So Marco, that's a great question, which I cannot have a conclusive answer to. So depending on the ESP, I would say. And what Mark is saying, if I have a domain called vbout.com and all my emails are coming up from Rich at Vbout, suddenly I added a subdomain. It could be marketing.vbout.com, and now emails are going out from Rich at marketing.vbout.com. Do these impact each other's reputation? I would say when you get to 1 million contacts and more, it's good to separate, because your transactional email is going out from Gmail. Will be going from @vbout.com, but all your marketing will be going out from @marketing.vbout.com. Because if you're sending everything from the domain and for some reason you don't have a good quality list, you're getting blacklisted a lot, that could eventually impact your domain reputation, not your IP, your domain. And that's when issues start to happen. If you have a small size list, let's say below 100 or a couple of 100,000, I really don't see an issue be using the same subdomain or domain. Okay. All right. I have another question. Do you just Google blacklist monitors? You know what? I'll put in one for you that we use extensively. It's really easy. It's blacklistmonitor.com, I believe, or Hetrix Tools. I'm sorry. Blacklist monitor. Here we go. MX Toolbox is one, and I'll put in another link for you. All right. Where's the chat? Here we go. So I'm dropping in a tool that you can just search your own domain, your own IPs, and see if you're blacklisted or not. Thank you, Kenneth. That's the tool that I'm sharing. Awesome. All right, let's move on how to create a sunset policy and spot inactive contacts. Obviously, depending on the tool that you use, most of the ones that are out there should provide you with some filtering to identify activity or the lack of needed for segmentation. But I want to just point out a couple of things here. Is for you to identify the different kinds of engagement that could be tracked within this given system. So if you want to focus on email engagement alone, that means who opened and clicked, that's fine. That's an email-based sunset policy. But I do have companies who also look at other kinds of engagements, like website visit, and certain types of lead scoring done, purchases on e-commerce as a good indication or relation to their email activity. Okay, whether this is good or not, this is going to depend on your business. In VBOUT, we use primarily email engagement, but these are a list of few things that we actually track in VBOUT. For example, first time they joined and the last time they engaged with anything. Last engagement date could be visiting a website, opening email, clicking an SMS link, opening a web push notification, making a purchase. That's constantly updating. Many companies have seen them look at this variable to create a sunset policy. You can also look at the date of the subscription, list sign up date, when they signed up to a list, because somebody could join multiple email lists. Abandoned cart date, order date. You see, these are not email based. Email engagement is the biggest one, and that's what we use here at VBOUT. SMS engagement, page views, page engagements, lead scoring, and status. So these are just some metrics available in VBOUT, and we have more. But if you want to build your strategy around those who are active, but just not opening an email is one thing, which in my opinion is a very soft sunset policy, versus those who strictly open and do not open. Now, the reason some companies, they rely on this is they try to use SMS to get people engaged via email. And one company in specific that I worked with, they were getting very low email engagement, but very high SMS click-throughs. So what they ended up doing is they worked hand in hand with SMS. They started sending SMS messages saying, we'll also send you an email with the details of the offer and the content. Please check your inbox. So they were trying to drive some engagement through the email. Another company, they had a lot of page views from their contacts, but not much email engagement from their contacts. So they ended up dropping in pop-ups on the website. And through the pop-ups, the only way to get it, the content is through the email confirmation. So this is why some companies use this strategy in order for them to revive their email campaigns. But again, in VBOUT, we strictly look at the email engagement, opens, and click-throughs. Okay. All right, so these are certain types of activities that you can identify and you can use for segmentation. I do have some questions. So Bill is asking, just wanted to point out DMARC report on app to protect email against fraud and hacking. Okay. So DMARC is just an enhanced policy for how you handle emails. Everybody should have a DMARC policy, and I have a help section on this in VBOUT. I don't know, George, if you can pull it up from help.vbout.com, but we have a video and a whole bunch of things on it.
Yes, I will check it and send.
There's also BIMI, which is another record. So DMARC, here we go. Okay, so I'll put in the chat for you guys some knowledge base on the topic. So this is DMARC. BIMI record is only probably 3% of our clients set something like that up. I really think BIMI record is something you should implement. It's not required, but the signals is that in the future, if you have a BIMI record, it might yield to optimized email engagement as well. Okay, so heck, why not set it up? It's very easy. You're gonna drop in the chat for everyone as well. Okay, cool. Michael Cooper is asking, how do you remedy the issue of a single email on your domain being hacked and sending out spam? How do you stop block if they're not being delivered from your servers? Oh, okay, Michael, that's a good question. Usually every single server you use should have a rate limit on the emails. Gmail, I forgot what the rate limit, they only allow you to send, and please don't quote me on this. I don't know if it was 250 emails per hour from Gmail or per day. And I'm so sorry, guys. These numbers sometimes are hard to track. I have dedicated servers from another business that I started a long time ago, and I rate limit everybody to send 100 emails per hour if they're using the local email on cPanel, which is Hordy or whatever, Roundcube, whatever they're using, they're only allowed to send 100 emails. So if somebody was hacked, an inbox was hacked on your domain and it was sending out spam, I doubt it's going to be to the volume that is going to be detrimental for your reputation. It's probably something you can fix because the blacklist monitors have seen a very small volume of bad activity, and now you're blacklisted. So you can easily go to blacklist monitor and then follow the trail of the blacklist and then delist from there. It's a simple application, you fill it up. Most of them provide you that. Okay, you say, I identified the issue, I changed the password, this issue should not happen, please delist us. You can wait 24 hours, 48 hours. Most of the time they will respond. But in VBOUT, nobody can use VBOUT to send out spam unless you give them access to your account and you're already verified. All right. Cool. All right, so I'll move on. I think Steve is asking about segmentation examples to learn about that. I give a couple. These are some of the filters, but if you create an audience in VBOUT, you can see this large drop down of things. The ones that I mentioned should be listed here, including the email, of course. Oh, there are a few more like form fill and stuff like that. Now, if you want to use like recency of activity, we have a specific filter, which is the last engagement date. You can do date-based filters. And by the way, we have a couple of filters coming in VBOUT, which is if somebody opened the last 5 campaigns, this is a variable on the number of campaigns they opened. That we have an active sprint for that for this year. I don't know the exact date, but you'll be able to actually not measure it by, 365 days ago or something like that, but more of the past 5 campaigns that you sent and they opened them or not. So this way you have a variable and more depth of segmentation. Now, when it comes to frequency of sending, if you're sending more frequently, your reputation is bound to be built faster. And obviously, you can check who did not open sooner. If I'm sending daily, okay, maybe after 30 days, that means 30 campaigns, I have enough data to conclude who of my contacts are not engaging, okay? Now, if I'm sending weekly, I should probably allow 3 to 6 months before considering those who do not open and active, okay? Because I haven't seen anybody in the world open every single email unless it's part of an onboarding or specific, very niche program. Even the best emails in the world or the email providers like Email Monday or some of these very good content, they do have high open rates, but it's never 100%. So there are a big chunk of people that are actually not opening at a given time. Okay, I am guilty of one of these. I have a lot of great blogs and senders that I follow, but I just don't have the capacity to open every single one all the time. So it depends on the frequency of how you send. I always tell companies, expect 3 to 6 months to build a solid reputation. Okay, and give it that time, even if you're sending a couple of times a week or 3 times a week. Okay, I've heard that magic number as well from some of the other pioneers in the field, like SendGrid, and a couple other companies that do heavy email infrastructure, and they have noticed that 3 months is really where they could tell if their clients using their servers are good senders or bad senders. Okay. All right. So observe the type of product. Obviously, every product might yield different engagements. If you're selling water filters, maybe your open rates is lower. How often are you sending the type of content, and also your sales cycle? I recommend you follow your sales cycle. So if it takes you 3 months to close a lead, I wouldn't just immediately count the contact inactive before 3 months. Okay. So consider your sales cycle of your business or product and double that. Okay. Double that. I repeat, double that in order for you to identify your unengaged contacts and retire them completely. Okay. And the only reason I am generous on this is because I know how much money and effort it takes to get one lead into the system. So if it takes you 6 months to close and you sent an email for 3 months and the person's not opening, I think maybe you still have the chance to perhaps, close to the end of the year. Now that's given you're not sending email every day, because that would be plenty of data. But companies that usually have a product that has a 6-month sales cycle, most of the time, the correlation is they're sending less frequently, okay? Because of the industry and the type of products and so on. So there's this correlation between the sooner the sales cycle, the more content companies have and the more interest is in their content, versus if the product is really tough, long sales cycle, probably heavy B2B kind of stuff, that's going to yield less emails being sent. I don't know if you guys are following on this. Cool. So this is what I just mentioned in terms of the sales cycle. Give them a little bit more time. My rule of thumb is to double that sales cycle before you start creating segmentation strategies. Okay. All right. I do like tags to identify contacts. Now, do you need tags? No, because you can use segments, but tags is just a label that could be used, I would say, in a fluid manner, more dynamically when you're building automations. So maybe you're sending out, or we build this robust workflow, and few emails you really want to deliver them to the highly engaged contacts, and few others you want to deliver them to the less engaged contacts. Or even in this particular feature on Vivout, which is really awesome, by the way, just the same email, you can create a block of content for those who are not engaging well, or this is a block of content for those who are engaging well, okay? And based on tagging, you can show this to this segment versus the other. So this kind of conditional content relies heavily on tags, which is why I like using tags as part of your strategy here, okay? So you can create a automation on VBout that says, go through my entire, clients list or leads list, whatever you call it. Pull everybody that did not open an email and apply this tag to their profile. That could be done that way as at batch as well. Okay. So whether you engage this contact in the future or you exclude them, this is totally up to you. I'm going to talk about some strategies in a minute. But having that knowledge, be it in form of a filter and an audience, which is mean the segment, or be it via a tag on their profile, allows you to do a lot more. And not to mention, when you have these types of tags, you can pass them back to your CRM or third-party products if you're using integrations, and you can leverage those tags on the other side to tell your salesperson this person is not opening any emails, right? Maybe they're somewhat engaged and perhaps they need a phone call. So these tags could correlate with your CRM as well if you're using some third party. Okay. I'll take a couple of questions here. Michael is asking, how do you account for bots opening emails and clicking links? So Michael, that's a very good question, a very tricky question, because this world is getting more sophisticated. It has been, in my experience, a very low percentage. Now, we do have some preventions for opening. So the open rate, preventing some bots, which we detect and then we blacklist. Bots, if you have any emails that are triggering a lot of bot opens, I don't know if you work with my team or not, but just notify them. We will try to identify the headers and the bots that's related to your campaign, and we'll try to blacklist it for you in the future. So we have a small manual way of doing it right now, case by case scenario, but this is getting better with time. And eventually our goal is to drop this to less than 1%. If we can get there, that would be great. I'm talking about open rates. Okay. Cool. So what do we have here? George, anything else on Facebook that I missed?
Let me quick check. No, all is good.
Awesome. All right, so let's carry on. A few more slides. So monitor your contact's behavior. We kind of touched on this a little bit, but you can classify your contacts based on specific types of emails that they opened or they did not open. You have the negative of the action. Some people are opening but not clicking. Okay, now that's an option to you, whether open is the only signal you want to follow, or based on what happened in the last couple of years, the clicks became a more important engagement metric. And how many are doing both? Usually clicks is enough, in my opinion, because nobody's going to be able to click if they're not able without opening the email, right? So there's this correlation between click and open. I wouldn't stack the conditions. If you're doing both click and open, just make it click versus not click. Okay, open, not click, or just click. All right. Now, in terms of once you classify them and the general kind of groups, I can have group A, people who never opened at all or engaged with emails. Bucket number 2, those who opened but did not click. And bucket number 3 are those who actually opened and clicked, right? These are the 3 different buckets I'm breaking down. Again, never opened, opened but did not click, and opened and clicked. Now, can I go down in the tree to say open, clicked, and made a purchase? Sure. But that would be very kind of long stretch for a sunset policy, right? I think opening and clicking are the most important metrics here. And now you can create some content around that behavior. All right. So non-openers can be sent a permission campaign. And this is an example here where we send people who never opened. That's the first group. And we say we send high quality content. We promise you to keep on doing that. But we've noticed that you haven't opened any emails in the past. Here's, if you'd like us to continue sending you emails because you've been busy, please click here to confirm. Okay. And that cadence, obviously, which I'll show you in the next slide, could probably extend beyond just one email. And I can send a few follow-ups as well. Now, those who opened but did not click can be sent an incentive. And that's incentive could be, if you click here, what I'm going to do is send you, access to different automation or different categories of content. So this is more of those who open but did not engage. Maybe you're just trying to push them to click, reply, or do something like that. I've even seen messages go out from like CEO saying, thank you so much for being part of our list. I really would love to share with you this piece of content that I created for your industry. Click here to access that thing. So that's a special incentive, if you may. And obviously those who open and click, do they need an incentive? That's totally up to you. I think you can consider this as the safe group, those who are engaging, those who can are probably more open to receiving content from you, right? I have a question from Jadri here. I didn't forget about your GPT question. I'll come back to that, but you're asking what would be 3 to 4 main takeaways to ensuring a successful email marketing strategy? Jadri, that's a very general question. And I love this question, by the way. Let me answer those 2 questions at the end. Okay, I really don't want to sidetrack from the topic, but thank you for asking them. They're really powerful stuff here. All right, so here I have a sample of workflow automation that does the sunset policy. The example here, I don't know if you guys see, but the first one, if they opened an email but did not click, I can add a tag to their profile, and this is the group number 2, those who open but do not click. So I'm not really retiring them completely. I'm adding a tag to the profile there, not clickers, if you want to call them. You choose the labels. And I can put them in their own special list of people who are opening but not engaging, okay? This is all house cleaning automations, guys. You can build automations not only to send out messages, but also to do some housekeeping items like list maintenance, contact tagging, and stuff like that. Then you can have an automation. That's the second flow you see. That's running every Monday, okay? And it checks the engagement date of the contact record. And that engagement date is actually relying not only on opens, but on visits and a few other things. And if the date is, let's say, if I'm doing 6 months, obviously I can specify that date. I'm sending them an email. I wait 5 days and I check if they did not open that first email, send that email again with maybe slightly different copy. I wait 5 days, and if nothing happens, I can either send them the final email or I can add a tag and I can add them to the suppression list. This is probably the most common one, okay? So the second line you see here is the most common one, which suppresses people if they don't open emails after 3 attempts or 2 attempts. And if they click on the link, which is the one that you saw here, you can say pull from the automation. So you can remove them from the sequence. You don't need to, you don't want them to receive the rest of this stuff, okay? Again, the variation of this and how you can build it could come in a dozen different ways. This is just a very simplified version of how you can do it. Okay. Now, whether you want to add those contacts to the suppression list, and for those of you who don't know what suppression lists are, this is the list of people to not email anymore in the future, even if you accidentally put them back on the system. So this is an extreme unsubscribe, if you may. You immediately suppress them. If you want to be a little bit more forgiving, you can put them in the list and try to reactivate that list once a quarter or once every 6 months with a very detailed offer. I even saw companies, they put them in a retargeting campaign by using the sync to custom audience on Facebook and AdWords and try to serve them ads to try to reactivate them and bring them back. So they're actually creating a reactivation campaign, not only through email, but through third party like Facebook, and AdWords. All right. Okay, I have a question here. Bill is asking, how strong is the reply signal? How would they know I was positively replying versus negatively replying? I am on someone's list and notice they occasionally asking me to reply if I want XYZ. Seems like a good strategy. Bill, when you reply or to somebody, Gmail, let's just take Gmail as an example, usually memorizes the email for their future kind of suggestions as you type. So they sort of gets added to your safe list of senders because you reply back. That's a good action. Now, whether it's positive or negative, I don't think Gmail acts on that. But what we're doing in VBout, and I mentioned this earlier, when you send out an email through VBout, we're actually going to detect the reply and the intent of the reply. Okay, we have, I think, 4 or 5 different categories of what kind of replies they will have. It could be a positive reply, a negative reply, neutral, and I forgot what the last 2. So based on these, you can then do subsequent things. Okay. So reply signal is very strong, regardless of the emotion. Okay, that's my first take on it. And eventually, you can get some sort of smarter way to determine the emotion and then act based on that. Okay. Yeah. So Bill, I mean, if the strategy itself of you reply and I can send you the offer, yes, it's used heavily in SMS as well. Okay, SMS because of the short real estate that you have there. So you can use SMS for that. And email. All right, John is asking if I have an action outside VBout, like paying membership by bank transfer, could I upload CSV and that add new members database that as a tag who already is in the database? John, yes, you can do it manually via import. You can also use third-party connectors, Zapier, Pabbly, Connexit, and a few others. We have a whole bunch of them. And that could be used to tag people when they make a purchase. Okay. You can use the API anytime, but that's going to be a little bit of a custom build. Awesome. So what do you do with people who are re-engaging? How to deal with re-engaged subscribers? So re-engaged subscribers are people who are dormant and then all of a sudden they start to engage. Obviously, sending them the double opt-in option or adding them to a form that has double opt-in is one way, or just sending them that link inside the email so they could click on it. Now, these are just some general practices. If I have, let's say, I created a landing page. On the landing page, I have a form that's a downloadable. I'm trying to re-engage or send unengaged people to a downloadable page. I'm just giving downloadable. It could be anything. It could be a gated video. It could be a gated worksheet. It could be a gated YouTube, whatever, presentation. That particular form could yield a double opt-in, which sends them a link to confirm. It could have a CAPTCHA, although I don't think CAPTCHA is too relevant in this case. But just to ensure that you're weeding out some bots. And yeah, that's just a general way I would deal with double opt-ins. But people who start to engage, if you update your audience, automatically they get put back in a different segment, in a different bucket. You probably should also have an automation that removes the old tag and puts up a new tag. Okay, you don't want the tag to stay put. So you need to kind of take that into consideration inside your automation flow that says, if they engage with my reactivation campaign, then remove this tag and add this one. Okay, these are just some general housekeeping item too. Incentivizing the reply to, exactly, Bill, that's kind of what we discussed here. Hit a reply to this email to, ask any question or talk to us. And I really loved, I just made a purchase from a supplement company. And I have a few questions about if the supplement breaks my intermittent fasting, what natural flavors they use. And in their welcome email from the CEO, it says, hit reply and ask any question about the product. I did, because I had questions and I'm interested in seeing if they reply, and they immediately replied within an hour, which was amazing to me. And now they're on my safe list. So with that being said, use that strategy in your flow. And you can even hyperlink this, by the way. In VBOT, we have a way you can hyperlink it with predefined subject line and predefined reply to and such. So use that. All right, couple of things here. You can use the preferences links. On the bottom of every email you send out, you can include an unsubscribe, but we also have a preferences utility in VBOT, which helps you, which allows your contacts to remove themselves from specific lists and content category and receive only emails for a different content category. Now, that requires a couple of things. One, for you to have specific lists that are publicly facing, because in VBOT, you can have a list that's internal. You can call it anything, XYZW Conference 2021, for example. That's not a friendly name. Or you can have categories like you see here, onboarding emails, marketing, monthly events with descriptions. VBOT lets you do that. And I'll drop in a link of how you can do it. Once you activate these, include the preference link on the bottom of your email and have allow people to update their content from there. All right. I've seen companies actually include that link as part of their sunset sequence. So instead of saying, click here to confirm, they could send an email saying, we've noticed that you haven't really interacted with us for quite some time. If you'd like to update how we communicate with you and only get content relevant, click here to update your preference, and it will take them to that email. So let me go ahead and send you that tool, utility in VBOT. It's super simple to use. And it's definitely worth deploying. We have one in VBOT that we use. Just make sure that you don't turn on lists that are internal lists, okay? So again, with this, you give them power. They could just remove themselves from things and offers they don't need. We oftentimes subscribe people to all our content, but as you grow, you might realize some people only prefer a specific type of content, and that could be tracked from open rates, engagements, and that type of stuff. Yeah, so this is what you can do with re-engaged contacts as well, is instead of sending them directly to suppression list, send them an email, ask them to be updated, and if they don't reply to this over time, obviously you can just suppress them. And last but not least, keep your eye on your engagement at all times. Engagement metrics, especially the ones we provide in VBOT, gives you all the visibility about the quality of your list, the quality of your content, even your conversions. So all that data is at your fingertips. Some of the most important things to keep an eye on, like I mentioned before, your bounce rates, your complaints, your unsubscribes, click-throughs, conversions. Conversions are amazing. If you have the people who convert and purchase from you, I mean, this is your holy grail, your most important contact target list. So add tags and treat them differently. Maybe when I say that, I mean, send them maybe more generous offers and coupons. So your metrics are there, and most of them are really nicely displayed. Do not discount the power of 679, 25%. And this is where most companies averaging. And recently we deploy our predictive sending, which sends emails to people based on their preference. Because we learn from their previous campaigns, the best time for them to open based on the industry, coupled with dozens of other metrics. So that has been increasing the amount of open rates on emails. And now we have it for SMS, which is interesting. So that being said, if your contacts if your entire list is yielding 20 to 25% open, you need to be doing something about the 75%. And that's what the sunset strategy does. It targets the non-opens, which in email is most of the time, okay, regardless of client, is the biggest chunk of your list. I've probably about 5 to 10% of clients have open rates more than 60, 70%. That's just like one of those top cases. Because of this big portion of people that are not engaging, you really need to do something about that so you can have better email reputation over time. Those unopens are not hurting your overall results, and you maintain unbox placement over the life of your email program. Okay. So look at your content, the results through statistics, deploy a couple of sunset strategies, and we have some templates for you on automation. And you have any questions, obviously, you can reach out to George, you can reach out to support. We're going to be sending you this presentation so you can recycle it, view it, and if you have your own community, please feel free to repurpose it as well and teach them about sunset policy. So before I go back to the questions, gentlemen, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for attending. If you need a personalized demo, if you're not using VBOUT and you want to learn more, George will drop in the chat a link to our demo page so you can request to speak to one of our success managers. If you already use the product, thank you for attending. I always look forward for your feedback. A lot of amazing things coming up soon to empower you to identify intent. Sunset policy is already there. We have a lot of tools to help you there as well. So I'll take some questions for a couple of minutes here. Before I go to Gidri's open questions, any questions on your side, George?
All is good from my side.
All is good. Awesome. Awesome. All right. So Gidri asked, are you still with us, by the way? Just a quick yes, if you are. All right, so Gidri might have left, but she asked if ChatGPT will transform the email marketing in the future. Gidri, I think a lot of people don't understand the full capacity of ChatGPT yet. If you try to tell ChatGPT send an email, it's going to tell you use something like MailChimp or I don't know, some other products. So it's actually not going to replace it, but it's going to be integrated. Okay.
Yeah,
and I'll give you a quick example. Sorry, George.
Yeah, sorry, Gedre is still here.
Okay. So I'll give you an example of some things we are experimenting in our AI R&D. Contact A signs up to a form. Contact A gets sent an email that's generated through ChatGPT on the fly. So ChatGPT might put together an email, include the person's name, send them that email. The person replies, we identify intent, but that does not need ChatGPT. There are other libraries with OpenAI that helps us identify intent, and Amazon, not necessarily only OpenAI. And based on that reply, we can parse it back to ChatGPT and say, write an email to contact that has a positive tone or a neutral tone or happy tone based on their response. So yes, it will change the game of marketing in that aspect, where content could be automatically generated. But with ChatGPT comes a lot of potential risk of you diluting your brand and kind of summing your conversation to a bot, because that's what it is, right? ChatGPT, as smart as it is, it's still a bot, could make mistakes, send the wrong email, the wrong content. But yes, it would have a huge impact on all sorts of marketing, primarily in content generation, copy, analysis of sentiment of your contacts, and perhaps form generation. I can't speak more than this on the topic because I need to test ChatGPT more, and I've been heavily playing with it. But so far, that's my conclusion on it. Does this help? All right, Jidri asked also, what would be 3 to 4 main takeaways to ensuring a successful email marketing strategy? Yes, Jidri, number 1, always speak to humans, not to contacts. Okay, I know we say contacts, we say leads, we say users, but at the end of the day, you're speaking to people. So humanize your conversation and invite conversation through email. The example I gave as an opening welcome from the CEO of the supplement company is really, really powerful. He sent me, I know it's automated, right? But it was sent from them, signature, picture, the whole thing. And they invited me to ask questions directly from the email. So invite that conversation. That's number 1. Number 2, understand what makes the top 6 things that make good email program. George, I have a full-on video on this that's open. It talks about how the email, the 6 things, which is like identifying your reputation, cleaning up your list, your sunset policy. These are just best practices. So understanding your best practices. And number 3 is email is not the only instrument in the symphony of your marketing. Email should be maybe one of the best channels, but you should try deploying SMS if you can, if it allows your industry and your contacts. Web push notification, social media as an extension of your brand. So, and we've seen a lot of companies that actually now are using short form videos, the shorts and the TikToks and the Reels to actually drive a lot of views. They could eventually lead to a page to become part of the marketing program. So to grow your marketing program, you can use this short attention span that people have and try people to opt in for more to your offer. So those three simple things. I know I can go on for a long time, but I think these 3 are what I have on top of mind. So Yolanda's saying she has a very good question. Can you use VBOT to build out funnels like ClickFunnels? I have VBOT and I'm only looking for one main source for my marketing. So Yolanda, you can build funnels by building a whole bunch of landing pages and linking them together. It just does not have the wizard like it does on ClickFunnels. And we don't have the payment form, which is something we haven't open for this year, open task. Okay, so once we have the payment form, that would be pretty much everything you need. Okay, so we can do most of the stuff you can do on ClickFunnels, but then you think about the rest of the features that Viva provide, the automation, which is insanely powerful, something that they don't have at all, the social media capability, the lead scoring, pardon me, the robustness of the forms, the tracking that we offer, and reporting. These are just things that could offset what's missing. Unless your entire funnel is just predicated on payments, and membership, we're not quite there yet. Okay. So George might be able to share the top 6 strategies for emails. Top email marketing email.
Yeah, I think that one you did, Richard, in COVID in 2020, right?
Strategies 2022. Yeah, I'm gonna look it up and share it with Deirdre. I have so many of them. It's
I think
yeah. VBOT. How to create a successful. Okay. I'll try to find it and send it to you. Deirdre. I have it on YouTube for sure. George, should we drop in our YouTube channel? I'll drop in our YouTube channel for you guys. Hopefully we can see you on that side too. We push pretty much all the videos and the recordings there. There you go. Email marketing best practices, I think. Awesome. So Michael is asking, I believe email verification is roadmap.
Register the perfect domain.
George, you are okay. Thank you. Email verification is roadmap coming soon. Incredibly exciting. Do you have any recommendations for contact enrichment? If I have an email verified engaged, but I'd like to automate finding the first and last name. So Michael is asking about what we call in VBOUT, and we're about to launch called enhanced verification. So when people sign up to your form, or when you import them into a list, you can run an email validation, which is going to be 70 to 80% accurate. There's always this small percentage we've seen cannot be picked up. And it uses a third-party partner that tries to validate the email. If it's a good email or bad email, you can treat it accordingly before sending them any piece of content. So that's something that's roadmap. My team notified me that we did it on the form, but it hasn't been released yet. It might be the end of the week kind of release. We'll pilot it. If you attend our next partner meeting, I'll give you first access to the add-on at no cost to you. So you can have an add-on installed. Really important feature for the enhanced strategies, enhanced validation, sorry. In terms of enrichment, we will build the enrichment in VBOUT, but our only challenge has been we're going to need two different solid providers. One for B2B contacts, Clearbit is one example, and one is going to be B2C contacts. And even the B2C, you can go to a whole bunch of subsegments. And the problem with these vendors, they charge a lot of money. So they want for every client a couple of $100 or something like that, which is cost that we'll need to bring forth to you guys. So with that being said, enrichment is still kind of in the horizon. It's coming down in pricing from a vendor's perspective. Clearbit, full contact are two I can think of right off the bat right now. Okay. Cool. Oh, George found the email. Learn email in 30 minutes. All right. I think, George, that might work. If you want to share it with everybody, that would be great.
Sure, done.
Awesome. And hopefully you guys can follow us on YouTube. I would love to send you updates on all the videos we release, which we will have a whole bunch as well. Awesome. George, anything else? Any final questions before we wrap up for the day?
No, Richard, all is good. No questions on Facebook, and I think here we answered them all.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. I think we topped the 80 people overall in and out, and this will be syndicated as well to our community and to everybody, including the content, the presentations, and everything else. We will be meeting at the end of this month for our partner meeting, talking about latest releases, all VBOUT stuff, VBOUT feature focused. Hope to see you there if you're a part of the VBOUT family. Otherwise, we'll meet next month, which should be the second Wednesday of next month, for another amazing topic. George, do we have the topic in place yet?
No, not yet, but we'll decide on it the next few weeks.
Awesome. For an event just like this, and guys, please feel free to share the knowledge that we pass on to you, to your customers, recycle the presentations. I honestly don't care if you use the same copy and same content. You give us credit, fine. You don't want to give us credit. Just thank us internally in your heart. Other than that, I really thank you for joining us today. If you are here on the East Coast time, thank you for being until 6. If you are overseas, big thanks and shout out to you, because it's probably midnight or 2 a.m. or whatever. That means you are really getting your knowledge up to date. Hopefully I provided some amazing content for everyone. Promise you to keep doing that on a monthly basis. And if you have any further questions, you can feel free to reply to the email George will send in a couple of days with the summary. And other than that, have a wonderful rest of February, and thank you for joining. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you guys for joining. Bye-bye.